My husband is required to speak publicly.
A reluctant king.
I'm not here to discuss personal matters.
An uncommon commoner.
Why are you here then?
Because I bloody well stammer! It's about one person trying to reach another person through so many barriers.
It's the journey towards becoming a king and becoming a human being. And up comes Her Royal Highness. You're peculiar. I take that as a compliment.
It's just a really dramatic and fascinating story.
Join us as we take you behind the scenes of The King's Speech, starring Colin Firth, Geoffrey Rush, Helena Bonham Carter, and Guy Pearce. We will explore the inspirational story of King George VI and an unlikely friendship.
Here is a man who has wit. I think there's an elegance of mind. And because of this struggle with speech, he's completely misjudged by everybody.
He's no expectation of being king, but then is forced to become king when his older brother marries the American Wallis Simpson and has to give up the throne.
War with Germany will come, and we will need a king whom we can all stand behind united.
His job is to speak. And if you feel you can't speak, then you're pointless. If I'm a king, where's my power? Can I form a government? Can I levy a tax? Declare a war? No. And yet I'm the seat of all authority. Why? Because the nation believes that when I speak for them. But I can't speak.
At a time when that is so important, he was a royal example of somebody who was not built that way, was not meant to be in public speaking.
Good afternoon. This is the BBC National Programme and Empire Service, taking you to Wembley Stadium for the closing ceremony of the Empire Exhibition.
You're live in 2 minutes, Your Royal Highness.
This is something that just come in. Every other king in history didn't have to worry about live radio. Every future monarch is going to have the protection of edited and recorded tape. Bertie didn't have that luxury. He just had to sit in front of a live microphone and speak to the entire empire.
Remember, sir, 3 flashes, then steady red means you're live.
It's a great story because it's not just about his speech, it's really about the internal emotional workings that are going on for him that all of us can relate to, I suppose.
Using the new invention of radio, the opening ceremony was the first time His Majesty the King addressed his subjects on the wireless. And today, His Royal Highness the Duke of York will give his inaugural broadcast to the nation and the world.
There's something about this particular story where the reality and the actuality of what went on is so intriguing.
What was your earliest memory?
What on earth do you mean?
Your first recollection?
I'm not here to discuss personal matters.
Well, why are you here then?
Because I bloody well stammer! Logue discovers quite quickly when he starts to prod Bertie and I think tease him to test his defences, if you like, that Bertie is a match for him.
You have a bit of a temper?
One of my many faults. When people are embarrassed, it's very common to be flippant about them and to try to deflect them with gags. And in a way, I think both men do that. Lionel more to provoke, and I would say Bertie more to deflect.
When did the defect start?
I've always been this way.
I doubt that.
Don't tell me it's my stammer.
It's my field. I can assure you no infant starts to speak with a stammer.
In any good writing, you get to know a character through their struggles. It's how characters deal with things is what tells us about them. I have received from His Majesty the King.
And watching him do that has been beautiful, heartbreaking, very powerful, poignant.
Well, please don't do that.
I'm sorry.
I believe sucking smoke into your lungs will kill you.
My physicians say it relaxes the throat.
They're idiots.
They've all been knighted.
Makes it official, then.
Colin's just delightful, you know. He's brilliant, he's hilarious, he's incredibly generous.
Making some changes to the garden, I see.
Yes, I'm not quite finished yet.
David!
That's one of the great things about being an actor, is actually sort of being in front of other actors while they do their stuff and kind of going, wow. So it's a thrill to share the screen with him.
Why do you stammer so much more with David than you ever do with me?
Because you're bloody well paid to listen.
Bertie, I'm not a geisha girl.
Stop trying to be so bloody clever.
I don't think I've ever worked with an actor with Jeffrey's persistence of enthusiasm. I mean, he's relentlessly enthusiastic. There would not be an evening that would go past where he would not have had a drink with me to discuss the next day's shooting or talk about the day we'd had. It's great to have that kind of enthusiasm in an actor. It creates a wonderful buzz on set.
Okay, as soon as we can, please, everybody, let's go.
He was a passionate advocate of the film from the beginning, fought shoulder to shoulder with me to get it made. So he's been a tremendous ally.
What is it about David that stops you speaking?
What is it about you that bloody well makes you want to go on about him the whole bloody time?
Vulgar but fluent. You don't stammer when you swear.
No, bugger off.
Is that the best you can do?
Well, bloody bugger to you, you beastly bastard.
Oh, a public school prig could do better than that.
Trying to find someone that could really hit the notes in terms of the beats within the piece, where he could be slightly abrasive with Bertie. He could also play the slightly avuncular friend to Bertie, that he could, in his home life, be both, you know, this textured family man who has a inherent love of his family, but at the same time this burning ambition. You know, once you start to stir up all those sort of things and you look who's out there, you know, and that's what led us to Jeffrey's door. And when he said he was interested, it was, you know, the start of many special things.
Oh, he's quite fantastic in that he never lets an obvious choice get through.
Now, when you and Elizabeth enter through the west door, you will be greeted by the hymn, "I was glad when they said unto me." Well, actually, you won't be all that glad because they do sing it for a very long time.
He's avoided the Australian cliche, which would be kind of Crocodile Dundee meets the King of England. He intuited that Lionel Logue would have to be, you know, really tactically quite a smart man to really help Bertie. He couldn't be crass.
Then there's a very long bit about upholding the faith. It goes on, rubbish, 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 to which you finally say...
And he also intuited how Lionel Logue might use some of the freedoms of being Australian to you know, set up a smoke screen under which he could actually effect some really interesting changes or challenge the king in an interesting way.
Kiss the book and sign the oath, and you're king. Easy.
I think the relationship between Bertie and Lionel is fueled by the unlikeliness of them happening to meet.
Myrtle.
Is this your wife?
Yes. Bertie, come here.
Are you all right, Logue?
Yes.
Well, shouldn't we go through?
Trust me, it's important.
What is it?
I haven't told her about us. Sit down, relax.
Jeffrey and I called it the bromance. You know, it did go through those sort of things that happen. It's you know, in the romantic comedies almost.
Logue, we can't stay here all day.
Yes, we can. Logue, I need to wait for the right moment.
Logue, you're being a coward.
You're damn right.
Get out there, man.
It's boy meets therapist, you know, boy loses therapist, boy gets therapist.
I don't think you know King George VI.
It's very nice to meet you.
Will their majesties be staying to dinner?
We'd love to. Such a treat, but, alas, previous engagement. What a pity.
Well, you know, humour drives it a lot. The fact that Helena has the filthiest laugh of anybody I've ever met just meant that there could never be any tension on the set.
I shifted him.
To have somebody I've always known next to me just meant you have a shorthand, and she is delightful.
Thank you. Lionel.
It was wonderful to have Helena play Elizabeth. She is the heart of that relationship, and she, through supporting her husband, ends up, by proxy, sort of leading the nation herself.
You know, I refused your first 2 marriage proposals, not because I didn't love you, but because I couldn't bear the idea of a royal life. Couldn't bear the idea of a life of tours, of public duty, a life that no longer was really to be my own. But then I thought, he stammers so beautifully, they'll leave us alone.
I pursued her with a ruthless vengeance because she was also shooting Harry Potter, and we had to completely reschedule the shoot in order to make it work, but I'm so pleased.
He kept on asking me to be in this film. I never actually said yes.
I thought the appointment was for Johnson. Forgive me, your...
Royal Highness.
Royal Highness.
Yes, Johnson was used during the Great War, when the Navy didn't want the enemy to know he was aboard.
Am I considered the enemy?
You will be, if you remain unobliging.
It was quite different. She's got this sort of very soft, sweet, somewhat vague, gentle exterior, but I think underneath she was very strong, and I wanted to play that duality, really.
I got stuck in a lift with her the other day, with the camera operator. And if I had to choose somebody to get stuck in a lift with, actually, she comes fairly high on the list, because she's amusing, attractive, and very small.
David, I've been trying to see you.
I've been terribly busy.
Doing what?
Kinging.
Really?
I was a great admirer of Guy, and it was a thrill that I was able to persuade him to play this role.
You all know the reasons which have impelled me to renounce the throne.
During the abdication speech, the rhyming and the nervousness in which that was given is absolutely there. And I think we needed a great actor for that.
And to discharge my duties as king as I would wish to do, without the help and support of the woman I love.
The strength and depth of this cast is extraordinary, and when I was in the read-through, I looked around the room and thought, the amount of cinema and theatrical history in this room is mind-blowing. You've got Sir Michael Gambon.
To each, I wish a happy Christmas. God bless you.
You've got Timothy Spall.
I too dread this apparatus. Had a speech impediment myself, you know.
If you're asked to play Winston Churchill, you can't turn it down, really,
I eventually made an essay of it.
And it's a challenge, and it's been done quite a lot, so being the fool I am, I thought I'd take it up.
You've got Sir Derek Jacobi, who played the very famous stammerer in I, Claudius.
My dear fellow, this is Westminster Abbey. The church must prepare His Majesty.
And also, you've got Claire Bloom.
Long live the king.
Who, after all, was Charlie Chaplin's muse in Limelight. You've got Anthony Andrews, who starred in Brideshead.
Our dramatic society is looking for someone slightly younger.
You've got Jennifer Eadie.
Your Majesty, you may call me Mrs. Logue.
Very nice to meet you, Mrs. Logue.
It's been a lot of fun playing Myrtle. I had to pinch myself that I was there shooting a scene with Helena Bonham Carter and Colin Firth and Jeffrey Rush, having just left the makeup trailer where Derek Jacobi and Timothy Spall were having their makeup tests, and it's been an extraordinary experience.
Can you just leave the windows for this rehearsal, and I want to see the wind happening.
Tom is fiercely intelligent and imaginative director who's fastidiously devoted to getting to the root of every problem the story poses to us.
He's got great tunnel vision focus down to the most minute use of a verb. Does that sound right? Does that get the tense right? Does that tell the story better?
This constant sense of investigation. Can I get something more interesting? Is there something up your sleeve that you could provide that gives this more textural, something that might surprise us here?
He's delicate and he's subtle and really compassionate. I mean, he'll try and steer you in a particular direction, If he's finding that it's something you're struggling with, he'll work out a way to make it work. And so he's really smart.
He's not in any way didactic. He has very strong opinions, but he is every bit a collaborator.
He's somebody who just sees the picture in his head, so he works incredibly hard and expects the rest of us to work incredibly hard too. So often, I think he would rather not break for lunch. You know, there's something unstoppable about Tom.
The film's very personal to me because I'm half Australian and half English, and so for me to find a film that really talks about the Anglo-Australian relationship is very special. And I've tried to make it as accurate as I possibly can.
You know, if a line comes up that he thinks is historically inaccurate in its reference, but seems dramatically more valuable, he'll kind of eliminate it and say, well, I think it's actually worth referencing what truly happened, because there are quite a number of books about George VI, and they're real page-turners because there's just so much stuff going on.
What I loved about what Jenny Bevan brought to the movie was the rather interestingly different picture where quite often the kind of regalia you expect a king or a queen to wear is not necessarily what they're wearing on a daily basis. Even the script we started with, it had King George VI being dressed in a plumed hat and a brocaded uniform, and, you know, Jenny discovered from a little archive clip that he was dressed like every other man. There was nothing marking him out as royal whatsoever, and so through that we came up with this very different image of a man in a black coat and a black hat against a dirty grey brick wall, and so your engagement is with the person first and the role second, which was kind of what was so important to me as well. Eve, this is the third time I've worked with her. I mean, it's a very happy and rich collaboration. She's obsessive about research. It is through her department only that we discovered the grandson of Lionel Logue, and therefore the handwritten diaries that Logue had kept of the king. It is through her that I discovered this extraordinary house where we filmed Logue's consulting room with that extraordinary wall. She's great at coming up with original ways of looking at a period, but she gets there through coming up with images of a period that have perhaps been neglected, and so her sources don't tend to be other movies or fictional representations of a period. It always tends to be going back to primary sources.
What's the matter, love?
I'm just having trouble with the patient.
Danny Kern again is a long-term collaborator. His eye for composition is extraordinarily interesting. We share a similar way of seeing the world, and a very interesting eye for light. I mean, his use of top light in this is quite unusual. The sort of high, soft top light he uses, which very much captures the kind of misty, natural winter light of the period in London.
Put your hands onto your ribs.
It's been a long-term dream to work with Alexandre. You expect a composer to come in and explain why the whole thing needs to be scored, but he seems to be as passionate about where he feels music is not necessary as where it is necessary, and when he does score something, he understands the brilliance of the performances he's scoring and how you have to enter into a complex and nuanced dance with those original performances.
You know you can't keep doing this, Bertie.
I must be no more.
I was a profound stammerer as a child, and so the king was a childhood idol of mine. I thought, well, if a king can get over it, with everyone in the world listening to every syllable he utters, maybe there's hope for me.
There's one photograph which I think tells the entire story. He's about to speak publicly in Canberra. He's in full regalia. He's got the sword strapped on his left. And he seems to me, while trying to maintain his dignity, in a rictus of fear. He seems to be absolutely staring into the abyss. And she is standing next to him. It's something in her body language that you can just see her talking to him, that she's playing that role. It's that moment of reassurance that you see in the beginning of our film.
Time to go.
Sir?
There was a genuine fear that he wouldn't be able to survive as king, that he would do it so badly that you'd have the abdication with one king stepping down, and within a couple of years the next king steps down because he's not up to it either. So it's difficult to imagine now when we look back, because we think of him as the king who took us through the Second World War, to imagine that there was that vulnerability. And it's through the Logue relationship that you uncover this incredible suspense and tension about whether he could step up to the mark.
Mr. Johnson, do come in.
The great resource discovery gift of this film was to uncover the unpublished Lionel Logue diaries in the first week of pre-production. I can't stress enough what an amazing discovery it was.
The researchers were able to track down his grandson, Mark Logue, and he gave us all of Lionel's diaries to look at, which were just a revelation, because up until then I kept thinking, well, I'll have to invent this guy.
I was told not to sit too close.
I was able to read his original diagnostic notes that he wrote about the very first meeting that he had with with the Duke of York, which was invaluable in playing that scene.
Well, I believe when speaking with the prince, one waits for the prince to choose the topic.
Waiting for me to commence a conversation, one can wait rather a long wait.
You know, we set about furiously rewriting the script to make the most of this wonderful material. And, you know, a couple of the best lines in the movie were written by King George VI and Lionel Logue. So, for example, there's a big speech, and Logue turns to the king and says,
You still stammered on the W.
I had to throw in a few, so they knew it was me.
That was last said out loud by King George VI and Lionel Logue.
Lionel Logue was not a doctor. He had no training, formal training. He had no credentials. He was a failed Shakespearean actor and elocutionist from Perth, Australia.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York.
Thank you.
But the man was a natural healer. He got it. He understood the psychology.
He got into speech therapy because during the First World War, he started to work a lot with soldiers returning to Australia from the front who were suffering shell shock and were kind of locked vocally. And I think he was learning very much by the seat of his pants.
What'll I call you?
Your Royal Highness. Then sir, after that.
It's a little bit formal for here. I prefer names.
Prince Albert, Frederick, Arthur, George.
How about Bertie?
He kind of pioneered an almost psychotherapeutic approach, that he knew the problem was not simply a physical one, that there was something, mostly around the age of 4 or 5, some kind of trauma within the child that creates stammering.
I'll just let that brew. So, when did yours start?
4 or 5.
That's typical.
So I've been told.
This was a culture which didn't really believe in that. The prevailing idea was just, buck your ideas up. If you've got a stammer, just, work at it and get the words out.
I can't remember not doing it.
I can believe that. Do you hesitate when you think?
Don't be ridiculous.
It was the talking cure, but he had the ability to instill confidence in his patients.
From the mad King George the Stammerer, who let his people down so badly in their hour of need. What are you doing? Get up! You can't sit there! Get up!
Why not? It's a chair.
No, that is not a chair. That is St. Edward's chair.
People have carved their names on
Listen
this
to me!
chair.
Listen to me!
Listen to you? By what right?
By divine right, if you must. I'm your king.
No, you're not. You told me so yourself. You said you didn't want it. Why should I waste my time listening to you?
Because I have a right to be, and I have a voice!
Yes, you do.
Everybody has limitations on their ability to communicate. Everyone has fears that they won't communicate successfully. And I think making a member of the royal family just heightens some things which I think we all are familiar with.
What's he say?
I don't know, but he seems to be saying it rather well.
The intimacy is really what people relate to.
It's really a story of friendship and courage.
Forget everything else and just say it to me.
You're also getting the chance to see one of the greatest collections of living actors you could get together in one movie.
You're very much your own man, Bertie.
I intend to be a very good queen to a very great king.